You have a person class defined here with nothing in it. The first thing you need in any class is a constructor. A constructor is the function that makes your object. For a constructor, you literally type out constructor and then do the formatting like it is a regular function. We want to be able to construct our person with a name and an age, so we'll put name and age as parameters of the constructor function. Next, we'll do two lines of codes that are very easy to copy and never actually understand what they do. So listen up. This.name equals name and this.age equals age. While it sounds like a lot of yada yada, what it means is when you make a person object, say Joe, assign whatever name you pass in to the constructor to be Joe's name, and assign whatever age you pass into the constructor to be Joe's age. All this talk about Joe, let's bring him to life. Let Joe equals new person with the name of Joe and an age of 24. So you make a variable called Joe, and then skipping over new for now, you assign to Joe the result of calling the person constructor and passing in Joe's name and age. Going back to the new, what does it do and why do you need it? Well, you have to use new because without it, JavaScript would treat the call to person like a regular function call and not create the new person object. New ends up creating a new object, setting the value of this to be that new object, then calling the constructor. Static methods in JavaScript, as well as other languages, are methods that belong to a class rather than an instance of a class. We'll make a class right now called myMath. Let's define a static add function. If you're psychic, you know for the add function I'll return a plus b. Then we'll define an absolute value function called abs. For abs, return negative a if a is less than 0, otherwise just return a. Now let's call some of these methods. Say we want to know the absolute value of negative 3. We'd do console.log mymath.abs of negative 3. You'd get 3 back once you log the result out. What is this starting to look a heck of a lot like? That's right, the built-in math object in JavaScript. You don't need an instance of the math object. You just call math.abs, math.square-root, etc. Those methods are static. That's often where you'll see static methods inside a class that acts as a library of static methods to get a bunch of different utility functions. Getters and setters have two different flavors in JavaScript, the kind that existed before private attributes were a thing, and the kind that were introduced after private attributes. Pre-private attributes, getters and setters could only be defined for attributes that weren't already defined in your constructor. Here we have a person class with a constructor that takes in a name and a birthday. Commonly though, if you're storing user information like this, you'd want to know their age. You could use a getter for that. You would write it like a function, getAge. Then you would write out the logic. Make a date object for today's date, and a date object for the person's birthday. Then their age would be today's full year, meaning don't cut it off at 2 digits, minus the birthday's full year. Then at the end, you would return the age. Let's take this for a spin. Let P equals new person with the name of Bob, and he was born yesterday, so October 31st, 2023. Now instead of calling a method, you can access it by just writing p.age. The setter in this context isn't too helpful, as the only thing that would change the person's age is the passage of time. At some point within the last couple of years, JavaScript introduced private attributes, meaning attributes that aren't accessible outside the class. You can change this code to make private attributes by saying before the constructor, #name, #age. Then you change the constructor by typing this.hashname equals name and this.hashage equals age. As is, if you tried to make Bob and access age again, you wouldn't be able to. So you have to define a getter. To define a getter for name, you would type out exactly getName. Your logic inside the getter would then be return this.hashname. Likewise, the getter for age would be a method named get_age, and the logic would be return this.hashage. Now, if you tried to make Bob and access his name and age, you would get back Bob and 0 respectively. Now, you might think the utilities of setters in this case is useless again, because why would you want to give access to values that you went through the process to make private? Because you can set the terms of how a value is changed and validate if a change should even be allowed to happen. For example, you could do a setAge method with the parameter being new age. Inside, you could just simply return if the type of new age isn't number. You could also just return if the age is negative. Then finally, when those checks have been passed, you can do this.hashAge equals new age. Like and subscribe to learn more.